So
Hello.
hello, first of all, hello. Whatever happened to hi? How are you?
Hi. How you doing? I
How you
know.
doing?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I feel like I'm doing well, and then you just went to Disney,
And
didn't
you
you?
just went to Tokyo.
To Tokyo, to Kyoto, to Hakone. For anyone who hasn't heard of it, and you ever get the chance to venture that way, Hakone in Japan was where it's at. It's like
Is
this
that
mountain town.
mountains? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, is that what you were like the biggest fan of? Was the
Yes.
mountain? Yeah.
I felt like I was in the floating mountains from the movie Avatar
Oh,
because there was
nice.
like a lot of fog everywhere and everything's at an angle. like like the train picks you up and the
Yeah.
train's coming in like this much.
Wow.
So like everything is just hooked up at an angle. So that was like it was a very big cultural moment for me of like not even culture as much as just geography and
Yeah.
just saying like, oh, there's people that live in this town
Yep.
where they're constantly going either uphill or downhill.
It's crazy.
It's kind of
They
wild
must have
because
amazing calves.
I know, right?
I
But yeah,
love
like
that.
before we get into our main topic, how was Disney? Because I have not been since I was four,
Oh,
like four or
really?
five. Yeah, like as a kid we
Wow.
went, so I barely
Okay.
remember.
Disney was really fun. It was not necessarily like something I ever would have done on my own.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
can see that.
I never really I never grew up going as a kid or
Mhm.
any types of theme parks really. So the guy that I'm seeing, he offered to take me for my birthday and I was like, "Okay, sounds good, whatever." But I had a great time. And it's so funny, the whole time we were there, we were like, I think this is more for the adults than the kids because like being 4, it's like you probably don't really even remember that much, right? I
Mm-mm.
mean, like you're so young and then a lot of the kids looked so miserable because
Like,
it's a lot of waiting. It was the high both days was 94.
yeah.
So it's like it's just a lot for kids to kind of go
Yeah, if
through.
something's hard for adults to handle, like lines, I feel like everyone hates lines. Like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine a kid being like, "I don't understand what's going on. Like,
Like why were you
why
standing
can't
here,
I not
mom?
get on this roller coaster?"
Exactly.
Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? I have to wait.
Yeah. So I honestly feel like it's more fun for adults. I mean, adults slash like older kids,
Yeah.
like maybe like 10 and up. I feel like they
Mhm.
fully got the experience, but I felt kind of bad for the little kids. But anyway, it was really fun. The other thing that was amazing to me is I guess I need to like post about Disney or something. I don't know. I'm going to become a Disney content creator because I
It's a whole niche. It's a whole
have not,
niche.
yeah, it really is. And like, I have not gotten that much engagement on content in so long. I only posted stories so far on
Mhm.
Instagram, but I just kind of like shared a couple quick photo recaps, nothing even
Mhm.
too intense, but my DMs were on fire.
Really?
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
people are like, "What outfit are you wearing?" Affiliate link, I got you.
Yeah.
People were asking about the food. People were correcting me on things because I called a ride a certain name, which I love. I'm like, yes, correct me more, engagement.
Yes.
So it really was interesting to me because I don't know. I sometimes and maybe this is actually gonna fall in line with our topic today,
Mhm.
but I sometimes I'm like, oh, well, if you choose a niche that's too saturated, like
Mhm.
well, another Disney creator? Are you kidding? How many Disney
Right.
creators are there out there? Like that kind of freaks me out. But I guess I experienced a taste of what it's like to latch on to an already popular niche.
Right.
And I think it works. And I'm totally joking. I'm not going to be a Disney creator, but maybe I need to think of something broader and more
Yeah.
relatable. Because I think sometimes what I do, even though, sure, a lot of people own businesses, like, are a lot of people early to mid 30-year-old single women who own
Yeah.
businesses, like maybe it's a little too niche and a little too unrelatable, like when I'm posting about on the day to day.
Yeah, I 100% think that could be the case. I think one that's interesting you said about stories because everyone's saying that there's this new thing about Instagram stories where if you just post like one photo, you
Yep.
get like I've gotten like the one this past weekend was like 5,000 views.
Yep. I
I'm like
know.
just
Same.
but it's only if you post one like light gigabyte, storage space photo or like maybe
Yep.
with some text over it. If you post a video or something, it might get not as much.
No
But yeah,
question
like
boxes, no
right,
links,
no
nothing like
question
that. Yep.
boxes, no fun.
Mhm, right.
Like do not have fun. Like you just want to post something, um, and they're getting a lot of reach. But yeah, totally think the broadening to where, or just having topics, like even for us on this podcast, maybe we need to broaden our topics to be about things that everyone knows. And I think I
Mhm.
found that as a secret with Michigan content. It's just like the ones that work the best are based around something that everybody can touch. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a city that probably everyone in the state has visited or knows the name
Yeah.
of, versus trying to be more niche about some cool, even like neighborhood in Detroit.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
people in Metro Detroit don't know about it. They would
Yep.
maybe like swipe
Yeah.
versus something. And then for me, it's adding comedy on top of that. But for you, it could be, hey, I'm doing a audit of all these Disney creators affiliate setups. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Of
Right.
like, and I think the other point really quick too to make is that what I tell my clients of, you mentioned like another Disney creator, like, oh my gosh. But I think in the realm of like paid search, for example, when there's high cost per clicks on a certain keyword,
Right.
then I tend to tell clients, and I've told this for years, of push forward, because
Mm.
that means there is money to be made, slash there's interest there. There's a reason why
Right.
so many people do these things. And maybe they all
Interesting.
caught the same bug as you, and we're like, wait a
Right.
second, I'm getting engagement from people who
Yeah.
want to know more. You
Yeah.
know,
That's so interesting. Yeah, it was really fascinating to me. So, who knows? Who knows? We got Busch Gardens season passes afterwards. We're like we're
ooh,
like in line for a roller coaster and he's like, "I'm going to buy his Busch Gardens season pass." I'm like, "You're terrible. We're still
Is,
at the same theme park, but
isn't Busch Gardens? They owned by Disney, aren't they?
I don't think
No,
so.
or
No.
or are they completely separate?
Yeah, it's different. Busch Gardens is here in Tampa, so it's
Hmm.
like we'll be able to go kind of whenever. But I guess the roller coasters are way more intense,
Yes, they're
which
more like, it's like more Cedar Point esque,
yes,
for anyone who
yes,
knows Cedar Point in Ohio, Sandusky, Ohio.
yes, Midwest. So
um,
yeah, maybe I'll become a theme park creator. Who knows?
I mean, that could be kind of fun. Or just like, I mean, showing kind of the life you have as a freelancer of like, I'm
Hmm.
gonna work, and like you could be like a video of like, what does my day to day look like? And literally be like, my morning, I worked for 3 hours on content and then I went to an amusement park.
Right.
And then just
Yeah.
record you with a GoPro, like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
doing all the crazy stuff. And then coming back at
Exactly.
night and doing like an email or like
Yep.
answering. You're like, and then I got home and recorded a little
Yeah.
YouTube short.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Going into today's main topic, though, it does kind of tie in with niches and things like that, of really comparing yourself to other creators. But on top of that, when it comes down to business and like competing for brand deals, I feel like when you're in certain niches, which I think most creators end up falling into a type of niche,
mhm.
even the big ones like celebrities, I'm sure they compete with each other for fashion related um, gigs and brand deals, or makeup or things like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start it off kind of with the tea section, which I kind of like the idea of starting at the beginning versus waiting till the
Yeah.
end. Of, do you compare yourself to other creators? And even on top of that, do you find that, like, have you ever found that, actually that can be the next one, but like a creator has ever taken like a brand deal from you? Have you ever felt or seen someone in the same niche kind of be like, hey, I'm surprised they didn't reach out to me?
Mm. It's a good question. I wouldn't say in the same niche, but I was just actually pulling up in another tab.
Hmm.
I saw this the other day, and I want Spirit Airlines. I want to work with them. Hello, Spirit people, please.
Hello, spirit.
Yeah, I really do because I'm a huge fan of theirs. Like
Hmm.
everybody trashes Spirit. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, so
No,
sorry
it's
if I'm being
definitely part of
repetitive.
social to like trash spirit
Yeah, it is.
airlines,
It is.
essentially.
And I did.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I did. I was like, the seats are hard, like blah, the planes are old, all this stuff. And then I started flying a lot more from Detroit to Tampa, and they have like amazing routes,
Hmm.
short, nice flight, best flight crew. They're so nice there, best
Yeah.
snacks. And they have this big front seat option that's basically like
Hmm.
first class that is so much cheaper than any other airline. So you can fly
Right.
like royalty
And
for
it's like
way
it's pretty
cheaper.
wide too. I remember seeing
Yeah.
them on one of the flights.
Yeah, I'm like such a huge fan, and I'm like, this is such a great story. I'm especially during the winter when I was like fully in snowbird mode. I was
Hmm.
like, this needs to be a brand deal. So I pitched them, and they were like, we don't do brand. I think they said like we don't do brand deals, or maybe they said at this time. I can't
Hmm.
remember, but I was just on Instagram like right before I came here, and I saw a collab post and I was like, "Oh, you don't do
What
collabs?"
is this?
Yeah, like just say I would rather someone just reject me and say,
Yeah.
you know, "We'll send this along to somebody," or "You're not a good fit." Don't tell
Hmm.
me you don't do them,
Right.
you know?
And then you just see the next day.
And to cover myself in case they do still want me, I'm not mad. It's fine. They may have very well said at this time, but yeah, I mean, it did like stuff like that does obviously like make me feel bummed out.
Hmm.
The person who they did it with, she's like a travel creator though.
Yeah.
Like that is what she does. So it makes sense, but my thing is, hear me out. I actually feel like brand deals are a little I don't want to necessarily say more, but they're interesting and I think more interesting to me when they're not so like
On the nose.
on the nose. Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I'm like a remote worker,
Right.
who one of the big benefits of being a remote worker is being able to travel, being able to
Hmm.
have extra money to afford the big front seat, being able to work on a plane. Like that's a
Hmm.
story that really speaks to, I think, a lot of people, as opposed to like somebody who travels full time, you
Right.
know? So I guess I sometimes don't necessarily get jealous of people in the same niche, but I get
Hmm.
jealous of like, you know, people who are not in my niche because I'm like, I'm a whole human. Like, there's more
Right.
components to my life. I mean, I would never be jealous of you, but like, I'm just saying, I want an Apple sponsorship, the
Right.
Latasha apple. Like, hello. I talk about apples every day in my blog, but because I'm not like,
Yes.
you know, either a food creator or a Michigan creator, they don't
Right.
want to work with. I mean, I guess I haven't pitched them, but you know.
True.
But yeah, so I think that's where I get more salty over people in my exact
Yeah.
niche.
No, I think you're onto something though about I haven't I feel like brand deals when they do come through, I mean, for me they always make sense because they're always targeting Michigan. I'm like, literally, I'm that Michigan guy according to
Yep.
the trademark office. But sometimes, like in the case of yours, I totally see what you mean of okay, there's the travel creators that are going to adventurous places, but what about the travel creators that are going just around the country, like are
Mhm.
doing business as Latasha James in San
Yeah.
Francisco to do a talk or New
Yeah.
York for this seminar and thing. But I think that would take you having to create, and be like, and we've talked about this kind of on a couple episodes, but you kind of growing into like being an influencer, quote
Yeah.
unquote, of just showing your life as somebody who is kind of doing business around the country because you
Yeah.
do. I mean,
Yeah.
that is your game. Your audience is global, and then
Yep.
you yourself are kind of always kind of going in between these cities to do different work
Mhm.
slash try out new things. With the Disney example you found, I bet you were kind of like, maybe freelancing is too niche.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm like, oh my gosh. I just post myself at Disney World once. People want my affiliate links. They want my food recommendations. That like all
Yeah,
like I could only imagine if I had like a vegan guide to Disney World PDF for like $5. I would have made so much money. It's like,
right.
man.
What do you have any idea off the top of your head of like what could be like in front of freelancer? What do you
Hmm.
associate? Because like I feel like some people do like, girl boss
Yeah.
freelancer, or
Yeah.
travel freelancer. Like, do you think
Hmm.
you have an idea of something that like could be that like broader almost
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
brand?
I think the something else that a lot of people associate me with is food because I do love food. I love to cook. I'm vegan. I try not to lead with vegan because I think that scares people away.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't want to be preachy about it, but just like sharing healthier food, healthier options. Like that was a lot of what I was posting about at Disney.
Hmm.
Because I was really surprised actually by how seriously they took like food allergies and how many
Hmm.
vegan options they had. So people were very interested in that too. So maybe that and I think travel and food go kind of hand in hand because
Yeah.
whenever I travel, I'm like it's a food tour. That's why I'm traveling, to be honest. So
Right.
yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that travel and food would almost be venturing into like the lifestyle
Hmm.
creator, if you will,
Yeah.
which is tied to your freelancing and your business, obviously, too. So maybe that's
Yeah.
it, too.
I feel like you have more direct competitors. Like you have more
Yeah.
Michigan and also they're close.
Yes.
Like literally like you are probably friends with some of these people.
Yeah.
Whereas me I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen that person before. So it's less hurtful or personal, I
Right.
think in some ways.
No, and that's why, honestly, yeah, it's like it definitely is less hurtful with some of the people I know. And like,
Mhm.
honestly, with some of the brands, I'm always like, and me being like this like business person, like I feel like I um know like, oh yeah, they were definitely better fit. So much so that I actually recommended one of my brand deals to friends of mine. And I
Yeah.
said, hey, like you should actually, I think you should work with these two people for this specific thing because I think they're just a better fit than I am. And one of them
Yeah.
ended up actually getting that. So I feel like the way though that I do differentiate, and I always kind of think of myself as different, is like sometimes like in the Detroit market, we'll say, and it's not bad by any means. Some of the bigger creators, which get crazy engagement for like a new restaurant or like a cafe popping up, they don't show themselves at all
Mm.
ever. Like
Mhm.
they maybe are in the profile photo, kind of like,
Yeah.
but they don't really show themselves at all. And I feel like for the sake of being a content creator and working with brands, you can get deals,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, from not even ever showing yourself. But I do think brands, it's like it removes that barrier for them to be like, okay, I know that if I reach out, I'm gonna get that
Yeah.
person, and it really
Right.
can't be recreated by competition either.
True.
So one thing that I've actually made as a goal for the past, it's getting a little wild how long I've been like that Michigan guy for. Like I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, I was like, I deserve, like I'm getting a good amount of brand deals this year, and it's very exciting, and I was letting Latasha know how happy I am about it. But I'm like, I've been like that Michigan guy. Like you were there at that one soccer game where the mom came up
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
like
that was
4 years
yeah,
ago,
a long
4 or 5
time ago.
years ago, where
Yeah.
somebody said, "Oh my gosh, you're that person that makes the Michigan content." Like when it all started.
Yep.
Um, and
I
so
was there. I was there before the
shout
fame.
out to Xander, who got the photo with me. I guarantee you're probably 15 or 16 now, but shout out.
Yeah, that's so funny.
um, I feel like, yeah, like I always just try to differentiate myself by putting myself in every video. You will
Yeah.
find one video that actually happened to go viral because I think there
Mhm.
is almost like power in not having a person in it because
Yeah.
people can kind of put themselves into the situation.
Yep.
Kind of like how like Hello Kitty doesn't have a mouth, so that you can kind of imagine any emotion on Hello Kitty, which is why I think
Interesting.
it became so popular and why there's a case study on that.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I think differentiating myself so much by putting myself in every video, by not being so much a point and shoot as it's like a story,
Yeah.
then I feel like I get the brands that want the, I mean, I'm not a celebrity by any means, but it's the same like realm as like celebrity influence, like
Right.
celebrity advertising, where you pick someone that has maybe a recognizable face
Mhm.
because they have that draw immediately with somebody scrolling.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I kind of like, if I try to like look the same,
Yeah.
similar. Like I don't go too crazy with like coloring my hair blue, even though I want to,
Yeah.
because if I get a brand deal, they probably don't want my hair blue.
Yeah. Right.
You kind of almost turn into like an actor in that way of like you need to kind of present yourself
Yeah.
a certain way, just to share transparency for everyone listening too. But there's power in it. There's
Yeah.
power in being that differentiator that no one else can kind of recreate. Because
Right.
somebody else could even make similar videos to mine, but if you don't have me in it, you're not me. So
Mhm.
a brand wants to work with me or that person, I
Yeah.
can't really, it being focusing on my uniqueness, although we talked about in past episodes, kind of makes me not get certain things. I feel like it really is what gives me peace to know if I don't get something, I
Yeah.
can't really do anything about it because
Yeah.
I'm me.
Yeah, for
Is the
sure.
best way
Like,
to word it.
yeah, like I think we've talked about, like, there are just going to be certain campaigns that want a mom influencer.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to be a mom influencer. Like, that's just,
Well,
you might be a
when
parent
I put the
influencer
wig
someday.
on
If,
and I'm the
right.
Michigan mom,
That's
I
true.
did venture into mom influencing a little bit.
That is true. I'm sorry. But yeah, like there's just certain things that, I
Yeah.
don't drive a Jeep. I
No,
don't know.
but
Like,
with kids specifically, like I
yeah.
get alerts for this one uh kind of like system for like
Uh-huh.
pushing out campaigns. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, we have a new campaign, like apply for it if you want. And they're always for like moms with kids. And I'm
Yep.
like, ugh.
And pets too. They're
Or
always like, "Are
pets,
you a
yeah.
pet? Like, do you have a pet?" I'm like, "Nope."
Because
So,
it's a different life. I mean,
yeah.
like people with pets versus without pets, kids without kids, these are all
Mhm.
different, like completely different lifestyles,
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah.
for the most part. But yeah, so I think that helps. And I I mean, we were just talking kind of beforehand how I'll see things off the cuff that I'm like that are here in like Detroit, and I'll be like, oh, I'm kind of bummed I wasn't invited,
Mhm.
for that thing. But at the same time, too, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes because to be honest, I'll get invites for events, but they're not paid.
Mhm.
And if they want a lot from me, like we've kind of mentioned too, of like
Yep.
I don't if they're requesting a lot and they're not willing to pay any money on top of the experience, then I
Yep.
probably wouldn't want to go, I guess.
Yep.
So I think in the end everything ends up working out. But I also wanted to bring up how Latasha. It's been a kind of a conversation we've had a lot of people taking from what you have and people taking from feeling like you're getting taken from with things like
Mm.
brand deals. But you would say that there's like enough to go around. I feel like in the influencer, even in the influencer market, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think more than ever, brands are understanding it, wanting to experiment with it. I think something that I often talk about with one of my friends who like teaches influencer marketing, she's always like, there are so many different angles and so many different types
Mhm.
of companies. We always go to like the big fancy brands. Like if you're a fashion creator, you're like, oh, I want to work with Nike or like,
Yeah.
whatever the household names. But like think of all the local boutiques or the
Right.
up and coming designers or whatever. Like there's just so much opportunity. So sure, maybe Squarespace goes with a bigger creator.
Yeah.
But like there's so many startup tech brands that would love to work with me. Or love to work with a creator who doesn't fit the Squarespace bill.
Right.
So I think it is a lot about uh, perspective, somewhat
Yeah.
too. If you're only pitching for these amazing, well known brands, you're always going to feel less than because they are probably going to go with the bigger creators, the more
Right.
established creators. You're never going to feel good enough. But, maybe like aim a little lower or just diversify,
Be
just try
open
different
to.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, that's a great point of like man, that's actually really something for everyone to remember is when you are not the Jennifer Aniston, you
Mhm.
probably I mean, only reason why I even say actually it's super related is that two of the people from the cast of Friends just did an ad for this like game app that's really popular and they were like on an airplane and it was big budget. You
Yeah.
probably won't get those
Right.
because there are celebrities and if they're willing to do a big budget production, they want to go like that's these big brands, they need to swing hard because
Yeah.
otherwise Kleenex needs to swing hard. Otherwise they're not going to beat out the other tissue
Yeah.
brands. So you might not get Squarespace as an
Yeah.
advertiser, but you might get Rectangle Room
Right. Right. Exactly.
.com that you
Yeah.
didn't even know was a website providing platform,
Mhm.
or even in the case of they're like became one of my favorite people to work with, Michigan Apples. I
Yeah.
had no idea that there was a whole organization dedicated to promoting apples in Michigan, which for anyone who doesn't know, apples is actually like I think we're the number 3 in growing apples in the
Mm.
country
Mhm.
behind like Seattle and or behind Washington and like Pennsylvania, I think.
Hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
like you don't kind of know these hidden heroes
Yeah.
in the business world when it comes to brand deals until you start putting yourself out there, having your website available, and then
Yeah.
randomly I'll get an email from one of these things. But I will say too, after you do it for a while, for me at least, I recently got Jet's Pizza, which for anyone in the who's
Yeah.
not in the Midwest doesn't know, they are like one of the biggest pizza
Yeah.
providers. It's a huge chain. Someone even messaged me and they said, "Oh, you have made it. You have like a partnership with Jets."
Yeah.
Like that was big for them, you know, like
Yeah.
or even I did some other ones with some pretty big brands because some of those brands will need to niche down at some point.
Yep.
And as marketers get more, I think, savvy,
Yep.
they'll realize how advertising in certain niches will be beneficial. You know, they're pulling data on their end to say, okay, we found out that 40% of our audience is self employed. And
Mhm.
then boom, who's a self-employed person? Self-employed
Right.
influencers on YouTube. I don't know how exactly everyone finds me or
Yeah.
you or what have you,
Yeah.
but that can kind of be the natural
Totally.
progression, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I also think something on this that I wanna bring up is it is a part of business, though, like, rejection is a part of this
Yeah.
business, and it sucks. I wish it wasn't. It is hard. Like, I think anyone who says it's not hard is, either
You
a
feel like
freak
you
of
get fired.
nature or a liar.
You
Yeah.
like you
Yes. Or, like, you're getting rejected from a job,
Yes.
over and over again. Most people, they go through the job hunting process and then they're, like,
Mhm.
good for at least a couple years until they wanna change jobs. They don't need to go through that
Right.
constant rejection. We're just, like, evergreen. It's just, like, always
Yes.
being rejected, and, you know, I think it's just important to go into it knowing that. I was just watching an interview actually with one of my favorite singers. Her name's Maren Morris and
Mhm.
songwriters. And she was more of a country artist, but she had this big pop song with Zed called The Middle.
Yep.
I'm sure you
Love
guys
that
have heard
one.
it.
Yep.
And she was talking about in the interview how, this was one of the few songs she didn't write. It was like Zed approached her about it. But he also approached like 12 other singers to like
Mhm.
audition for the role,
Yeah.
basically, of this part. And she initially got rejected for it. Like he went with somebody else, but I guess their scheduling or, label stuff didn't work out. So she was like the
Backup.
backup. And like thank goodness it worked out because it totally
Yeah.
changed her career. But, when she was describing it, it was just really humble and how she was like, yeah, I was like, oh, that sucks. But she kind of just like
Mhm.
went on with her day. It's like you have to have that mentality of, oh, that
Yeah.
sucks, be sad about it for a second, and then like on to the next.
Right.
Because one, you never know when things could change and somebody might drop out of the campaign and you become the Maren Morris in the middle. Or,
I think one of my brand deals, which ended up being my biggest brand deal to date, I'm pretty sure I was not the first pick.
oh, yeah, I definitely have been
I
like
think I
that.
was a backup.
Yeah. I know I have been because it's been like the due dates are like 3 weeks ago, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
like we need you somewhere in 2 weeks. You're like two
yeah,
weeks, okay, work.
yep, for sure. But
That's
yeah,
funny
you
about
never
Mary
know when that
Morris
can
though.
happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's so. One really funny thing is that somebody commented. I forget the username, so I apologize. But they said, "I love how Drag Race is mentioned in every episode." And I'm like, honestly, it's so relatable. But I was gonna say, I think it helps me kind of think of like, I think anyone in the arts, which
Yeah,
I do put content creation kind of in there.
yeah.
Like the reason I say that is because Drag Race, one of the winners, I forget which one, was actually an alternate for the show. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
had to drop out last minute due to like medical reasons. They got
Yep.
on and then they end up being the winner. And then their whole life obviously changed.
Right.
And I think people can have that mindset to your point with rejection of like, yes, you're getting rejected, but you could just open up your schedule to get the thing that's going to come.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll share too. I'll get really personal with everybody. I had to say no to a brand deal that I was really bummed about, but because it was a very good amount of money. Um, and I ended up saying no. I kid everyone not listening. And I was like so shook. I like screamed all caps to Latasha, I think, in like text. The next day, after I had said no, I got word of something else that was
Mm.
also great. And it was just wild for me. And this happened
Mm-hmm.
with clients a lot with my Dynamo
Yeah.
consulting side of my business. And I'll say, like, I think I have to drop them. I drop them. The next day, somebody
Mm-hmm.
reaches out and wants marketing services.
Yeah.
Like, it's really crazy. It's happened so many times where
Yeah.
I just like, I think that is the nature of these creative worlds where
Yeah.
you might get no. And constantly, and like Latasha said, we just all got to roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
just got to be a rolling boulder down this hill that you want to be on,
Yeah.
um,
And
and
I
take it.
I think it's about how you accept that rejection too, because it's like,
Yeah.
what if Maren Morris was like, "Oh my gosh, Zed, you suck. You're gonna regret this decision for the," you know, and was like a
He
diva
sounds
about
just
it.
like that, actually.
Totally. But yeah, like, you know, then she probably wouldn't have been the next
Right.
one picked, right? Like, oh, she's not good to
I'm sure
work
she,
with.
like, maybe stayed humble about it,
Yeah,
and
like,
was
oh, thanks
like,
so
"Oh
much
my
for the
gosh." Yeah.
opportunity. Hope that
Yeah.
something else works out in the future, you know, and same for us. Like, I've definitely always tried to keep lines of communication open and, oh,
Yeah,
maybe it won't
same.
work together this time. You know, reach out if
Mhm.
something, whatever, else opens up. Like, I think that matters a lot too.
Benny Blanco has been sharing a lot of tea
Yeah.
about he's married to Selena Gomez, I think now, but he's been I didn't know about him, was writing literally every song in the game
Yeah.
all the time, like this for the past 15 years or
Yeah.
whatever long it was been. And he was talking about how Diamonds he like sent to Eminem's team, but then Eminem's team had said like nothing for a year. He
Wow.
gives it to Rihanna after that year. She kills it and was
Yeah.
like, I'm performing at this music wherever, this festival or something the next week. Eminem's team comes back that like week and was like, hey, Eminem's doing something crazy with this. It's going to be amazing. He's like, sorry, I
Yeah.
already gave it to
Yep.
Rihanna. So like
Wow.
that's also I think a testament too of maybe you didn't get something. How hungry were you for it? And
Yeah.
maybe it's best you didn't get it, or
Yeah.
maybe you really didn't give it the energy you needed to, and you kind of need to kick it up a notch if you want to get the next one. Because I think
Yeah.
that's something for me even myself too. Of sometimes I'm like, I usually don't tell myself, "Hey, work harder," but let's say I didn't get something, maybe I should try, to
Hmm.
switch up, and do a different type of video one of these times, and be a little bit
Yeah.
more flexible.
Right.
With how I'm presenting content or just what
Yeah.
have you.
For
Just something to
sure.
think about. Maybe not, I might not make the change, but I think it's always good to be thinking about um, yourself and what you offer when, let's say, you do get rejected. It's like a good learning
Yeah.
moment too.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say on this piece too is you really don't know what's going on in other people's businesses, worlds, contracts. And I don't say this to be like, I don't really like the idea of, I think some people use it as like a defense mechanism for competition. They're like, oh, well, they're probably miserable anyway. I'm not necessarily saying everybody is, because that's absolutely not true, but some people are. And like I did kind of find myself recently, I was sharing with Ryan before we pressed record, like everyone in my niche right now is struggling, at least
Mhm.
everybody who I'm talking to. It's not a great time to be in the online education space. And before anyone was being open with me about that, I was feeling like, wow, it's just me. Cause I'm like seeing all these other people's Facebook ads and I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
they really know how to run these Facebook ads and their funnels are so amazing and all of this
Yeah.
stuff. Those same people, when I post something saying, hey, it's kind of rough right now, are the ones DMing me, being like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said something. It's horrible. It's awful for me. That's why I'm running Facebook ads because I'm like trying everything, you know?
Right.
And I think the same can be said for brand deals. Like or for me speaking, like I've said no to a lot of speaking recently because honestly, the ROI isn't there. It's
Yeah.
not. It actually costs me money when all is said and done a lot of the time, whether it's travel or just time spent
Time.
away from my
Yeah.
business, new outfits, all the things. And so I'll see other people doing it and maybe they look more successful than me, but I'm like knowing, hey, speaking at that huge event last year actually kind of screwed me up for like a whole quarter because I was like
Right.
behind a week.
And you
So
had to probably prep something for it too, even sometimes.
totally, it takes so
Yeah.
much time and energy. And if the ROI isn't there, like you have to make smart decisions.
And see,
So
it's really
yeah.
funny you said that about the speaking, because in my head, I was like a little bit like, oh, I wish I could go to speaking gigs. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like seeing like
Right.
your success with it. In my head, I was like, maybe I should try.
Yeah.
And
For
then
sure.
seeing like in my head though, I was thinking a little bit about like the backside of the business of like, I remember because you were heading to one and said you had like to launch something too. And I was like, it literally thought in my head, I wonder if she has to spend a lot of time like prepping for the
Yeah.
speaking gig.
For sure. Oh,
Because
that's a
I'm like, because that
whole
would be hard. That would be
definitely.
a
It's a
tricky
whole
week.
It is. It's a whole thing. And I have a story for you off camera. I do. Uh, but yeah, so you just never know what's going on in other
Yeah.
people's lives. Whereas some people, maybe it really fuels them too. And like, but for me, doing something like a speaking gig is actually so much like energy. I love doing it, but
Hmm.
it really does like take over my life for that week
Right.
plus, you know. Whereas other people might be like, oh, this is a walk in the park. It's a breeze. I feel energized by
Right.
it now. So you just never know what's going on in other people's lives, is my point.
Right. But then you compare the speaking gig, let's say ROI, to
Hmm.
getting a brand deal where you're just having to do something you already know, like out the back of your
Yep.
hand.
Yep.
It does end up not matching up a
Yeah.
good amount of time. That's what's really nice too about being friends with some creators here is like we can openly talk about like, hey, are you dry?
Yeah.
Because I am, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Or like, and if
For
it's not,
sure.
sometimes we've had it where it's reversed, where they've been like, no, I'm getting a good amount, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm a little bit more on the dry side. So I was like, oh, maybe I should kick it up a notch with how much I'm posting.
Yep.
Or at the same time in my head, kind of have that conversation of like, maybe next month, things will change. And sure enough, I gave it
Yeah.
a few weeks and I got like three.
Yep. For
So
sure.
like, but it's really nice to have that back and forth to know just,
Yep.
looking in a mirror, like you said in the one example you gave too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think there is going to be competition, and I think that everyone can kind of just expect competition, expect rejection. But I hope we listed off a good amount of positives that you can get out of those things as well.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's pretty interested in maybe going to Disneyland now.
I mean, yeah. Stay tuned. Like and comment down below if you
Stay
want
tuned for
more
right if you stay
Disney
tuned to
content.
see if Latasha becomes a Disney creator.
Whatever.
Subscribe if you want to see if that happens.
Yeah.
Leave a comment. We've absolutely loved getting the comments and replying to them. I love YouTube comments specifically
Yeah.
because I feel like people are more like sharing about
Yeah. And
like
you can put a
their
face to a name too, when they
yeah
have a profile picture and stuff. It's
yeah,
nice.
you get a good angle that you can respond to. So feel free to comment, subscribe, follow us on podcasting platforms like Spotify and Apple too, and leave a review
Yeah.
if you would like to give us some love and really help get the word out to more creators around there. That will help
Yeah.
us out. But
We
yeah,
appreciate you.
we hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.